my kids as they're growing up, they still respect me. And that's just a beautiful gift as a mom to have.
We were very quick, very swift when they didn't respect you. It was something that wasn't really tolerated.
Well, you were good at that on my behalf. If they kind of gave me a face or a comment and you were there to witness it, you didn't let it go uncorrected.
And it wasn't even something I think I intentionally was like, I got to do this. It's just something that really rubbed me wrong.
Right.
You treat your mom with respect.
I don't like the way you're talking to my wife.
In all of the good times and even the trials, through tears and through laughter, yeah, I know that I'll smile when I think of you. Smile for the things you do. Smile, God gave me you. You are the reason I smile.
This is Behind Our Smiles.
Pursuing connection.
And finding joy.
Even in the struggle. And welcome back to another episode of the Behind Our Smiles podcast. We are Joe and Tara Buchanan.
Yeah, we're so glad that you're here. And one of my absolute favorite segments of the podcast is the You Make Me Smile segment. And by the way, you can be a part of that as well. Would love to hear about what makes you smile about your husband or wife. You can share that with us. A simple email of Tara, T-A-R-A, at behindoursmiles.com. Today we heard from Joanna sharing about what makes her smile about her husband, Brian.
Yeah, so Joanna says, Brian makes me smile with his unwavering dedication and enthusiasm for our family. He is always the first to brag on our kids and me. He is so proud and it shows. And I blush every time I see him in a backwards hat and a sweet smile in the car holding my hand.
I love that. Joanna, thank you for sharing that. What an incredible thing to say about your husband. And again, if you want to share about your husband or wife, you can do that by emailing us, Tara, T-A-R-A, at behindoursmiles.com.
So last week, our 2 episodes were released were asking if you can skip Mother's Day.
Yes.
And we talked in those episodes about why we wanted to skip Mother's Day, but we're not completely skipping it. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
But we are going to have a little bit brighter episode today.
I do have a mother in my life that I do love very much.
So the question is, for you, the mother in your life is primarily me in terms of the mother of your children. And so sometimes over the years, we've had this idea of, do you get me a Mother's Day gift? Is that, for some people, that's like a contentious question.
Right. It's really hard because you're not my mom.
I'm not your mom.
Right. But it should be the kids getting you gifts. So I understand the idea of the dad helping the kids to get you
it's one of those things,
gift,
even for me, I'm like, I don't know if I want a Mother's Day gift from my husband kind of thing. But I like what Joanna had to say today. And I thought, she said that his unwavering dedication and enthusiasm for our family. And I thought, that is probably one of the best Mother's Day gifts you can give your, wife or the mother of your children, is saying, hey, I'm going to be dedicated and enthusiastic about our family. And I feel like, so we're talking today about basically how can a husband like you, Joe, how can we support the mother in your life who's taking care of your kids.
Right, because I do think that you are a fantastic mom, and I love the fact that you're the mom of our children. I couldn't think of a better mom, and so I think our kids are really blessed to have you as their mom, so I definitely want to celebrate you, especially at Mother's Day.
Well, we talked about last week, like our expectations are realistic.
Yeah.
To go Mother's Day specifically is not the time that you pull out all the stops to celebrate me, so to speak.
No, and you notice the key word in there is I want to.
Yes, but
doesn't mean I'm always
for
able
me,
to.
For real though, for me, the best gift you give me though is that year-round being a supportive husband in parenting our kids. So like the one day is not really a big deal when you are supportive throughout the year.
All right. So how have I been supportive throughout the years of you as a mom? How have I helped you grow in motherhood and be a better mom?
I have an acrostic for that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So when you first brought this to me, I thought
list
about several pastors I've had over the years and possibly several teachers I've had over the years. And to be really honest, when I first years ago heard the word acrostic, I'm not sure I knew what it meant. What is an acrostic?
It's just when you take the words, each letter of a word to emphasize the point, so it's easier to remember.
Okay.
Right.
So what is the word?
The word is mother.
Okay.
Because we're at Mother's Day. So MOTHER, and then each letter will stand for the tip or the example you're setting for our kids.
And again, this is just a very creative way to say this is how a husband can better support or just support his wife as a mom.
Yes.
Okay, so what is M?
M is one of my favorites, but it's modeling respect. So it's not even so much that you respect me as a woman. Of course, that's important, but I think the fact that you've modeled it for our kids, that they've learned that respect as well. And I love the fact that my kids, as they're growing up, they still respect me, and that's just a beautiful gift as a mom to have.
And I think part of that, to add to that, is that we were very quick to, very swift when they didn't respect you. It was something that wasn't really tolerated.
Well, you were good at that on my behalf.
Yes.
Right. If they kind of gave me a face or a comment and you were there to witness it,
Yeah.
you didn't let it go uncorrected.
And it wasn't even something I think I intentionally was like, I got to do this. It's just something that really rubbed me wrong.
Right.
You treat your mom with respect.
I don't like the way you're talking to my wife.
Right.
Was kind of
Exactly.
the line you said. So I appreciate that. And I think a big part of respect was respecting and enforcing my rules or how I was running things, especially with me having more say in their life when they were young and being home with them, that if I had made a call and saying, hey, this was happening, you wouldn't like overturn my call. And I think that was really important to say, because that could get really old. If it's like, hey, I said he's got to go to bed early, you're like, well, I'll let him stay up late. I'm like, nope, you respect your mom's rules. If mom said it, I'll back you up.
And I even remember when the kids were younger and they'd come ask for something, I would be like, hey, what'd your mom say? And they learned really quick that they could not come to me for something that they had gone to you for and didn't get the answer they were looking for.
Yeah, and I think with respect, though, I think the only way you really do, or at least the kids learn respect, is by watching what it looks like. So I do appreciate that they had a very loving and respectful father, that they've learned how to treat other people in their life with respect.
I appreciate that. So M is for model respect. What is O?
O is offer resources. And I thought of this because I'm going, we really don't do it all on our own. All moms need some kind of help, whatever that means. And as my husband and as the father of my children, to say, okay, what does my wife need to do her job better? Right? What resources does she need? And that can come in a lot of different ways. And primarily for us, Joe, is financial provision. Okay. She's going to need, household support and money and money in the checkbook to do this. And I think you always were very faithful to provide me with the resources we need to raise our kids well.
I appreciate that. And it really was trusting God's provision, because God gets all the credit for that. And me just kind of learning and watching and saying, okay, what does my wife need? And really seeking God on that. Like what can I do? Yes, there's a paycheck involved, but it was so much more than that.
Sometimes it's just a nap.
Okay, so we're doing an acrostic for mother, and we're up to T. So what is T?
Oh, T is another favorite one of mine.
Yes.
Okay, T is talk to her about the kids. Now, this obviously we've talked about talking before, but I think one of the favorite things about mothering, and that I'm not doing it alone, is I can talk to you about things that are going on. What's going on with kid A and kid B, and how do we address it? And what do we do? And what do you think we should do? And I think those times that we've had talking about issues in their lives is made me a better mother, having someone to bounce things off of and someone to go, how do we handle this?
No, and I appreciate that. And it's made me a better father. And I think being able to talk those things out, even when we didn't see eye to eye, being able to have those conversations to say, hey, I see it this way, or I see it that way. And there were conversations that were very quick, and there were conversations that took a while to talk through. But yes, I think it strengthened me as well.
It takes time. And the more kids you have, the more time it takes.
Yes,
So,
right.
we have 4 kids, so there's always something happening with one of them. Like, okay, this is the issue that they're struggling with. Or even just the good things that are happening. Like, let me just tell you the greatest story that we had that happened today. And we love sharing those wins together. But having, I was a homeschooling mom as well, so we could call it a parent-teacher conference. Yeah. But hey, here's the state of the ball game. Here's what's going on with the kids. What do we need to address? And having a partner to talk to about those things was very helpful to me as a mother.
Well, I'm glad you have an H. Otherwise, we would just have Mott. So what is H?
H is a phrase that you say often, a lot, which is a magical phrase that anyone can say, which is, how can I help? And knowing that you are always willing to help and just jumping in and saying, I'm here to help you. That simple phrase has always been a huge encouragement to me as a mother, because number one, it reminds me I'm not alone. And it also does help me to figure out, okay, what is it I need right now? And sometimes the answer is simple, sometimes it's complicated, and sometimes I just need to cry. But you be able to say, how can I help, is a great encouragement to me as a mom.
I appreciate that. And it's also a great way to serve. And there are so many times where you say, thanks for asking. I really don't need anything right now. And so in essence, I'm like, hey, I'm off the hook, right? I don't have to do anything, but I know it means a lot to you. It takes a lot of the weight off and the pressure off to know that you're not in it alone.
Right.
That if there is, and when there is something that you need help, you can ask for that.
And that's the episode we did back a few weeks ago, which is, getting up off the couch and, how can I help you? And the serving element. And you've gotten better at that over the years, but just a simple phrase, always saying, if there's a dilemma or just there's work to be done or whatever's happening, being able to offer and say, how can I help is never a bad idea.
See, the problem is the couch was more comfortable in the beginning, so it's a lot harder to get.
And, there's a learning curve too, because there's some things with parenting that I was catching on quicker than you. I spent more time with my babies sometimes, and they, so there's sometimes you didn't know, like, what do I do? And be able to say, like, a lot of times it was like, find the shoe. We're missing the shoe. I'm going crazy. If you can find this matching shoe, you're a hero. So at other times it's more complicated. Like, go up and talk to your son.
Well, and even in a find the shoe thing, by the time you find the one shoe, the other shoe is now missing. And it's, but yeah, being able to work together. And I saw that even as a father, it was more like, I really do need your help, And when you would say, how can I help? It made a huge difference as well. So we're going through this acrostic. We're up to E.
Yeah, E is encourage her. And tell her what she's doing well. And obviously that's often what does happen on Mother's Day is, hey, let's remind the moms in our life that we appreciate them. Here's what you're doing well. But again, not just on Mother's Day, but we know she had a hard day or, there's been challenges that she's met in those areas to be able to say, you're doing amazing. And that was great. The kids appreciate that. Just what all those things that happen because, parenting is just such a complex mess of emotions that you always can use more encouragement.
And you got to go back to T, which is talk, which is something you enjoy doing, or offering to help to really better understand of how I can encourage you. So as I learn...
If you're talking to me about how the kids are doing, that's exactly going, this is an area we're struggling with. And then you can say, hey, looks like this issue is being resolved. Like, that's great. I'm so glad that worked out for you and that's not an issue anymore. So all the encouragement in the world for our moms, and especially for you, Joe, since you're the closest to it. So you see the good, the bad, and the ugly with my parenting and days that I don't have it all together. So your encouragement as my husband is a very big blessing to me. And you can do this, right? Saying you can do this. Because I think half the time it's called, I can't do this anymore. I want to quit. So you can do this. How can I help and encourage?
So we're up to our final letter, which is R in mother. What's the R for?
So I had to, get creative with my letters because I thought with all the things that you've been helpful as a husband to me in parenting, is I look back and I'm so grateful that I just called it radical involvement. So we always want dads to be involved, and that sounds so cliche, but I think it's a radical involvement. Like, it's just not even just show up for bare minimum. It's going above and beyond for your kids. That's why I appreciate what Joanna shared today. Just this unwavering dedication. Like, your first priority is these kids and our family. And the more involved that you are with the kids, the easier it made my job. It made my job more fun and made our family run so much better. So we were in a place where you could be radically involved. But that has been the best gift that God has given me, is the ability for you to be super involved. And
we, and a byproduct of that is we see it in our kids today as they're growing into adulthood. That has really paid off richly for them as well, to have us both so heavily involved in their lives.
And some of it, when the kids were younger, was some of that day-to-day grunt work, putting on the shoes, taking her to the bathroom, change the diaper, get their pajamas on. And you were very, very involved with the kids in those day-to-day things. And that was huge. But now they're kind of past that. And now there's a different kind of involvement that you are in, which is the hard phone calls, right? Yeah. He needs to talk to you. Take the phone call. And I go, Joe, this is where your sons need you a little bit more than they need me right now. I feel like as a mother, I'm taking a back seat when the boys get to be men, going, okay, you're the primary in their life now.
But I'm going to argue and say that our one daughter makes up for our three boys in the conversations that you have with her. So I think we're good to go. But yes, and the heart work, right? That teaching and shepherding their heart and being able to answer those questions. And we talked about this in an earlier podcast as well. But a lot of times, when you're having discussions with your kids, or when I'm having discussions with you, Tara, the heavy stuff doesn't come out in the first 10 to 15, 20 minutes. It's in that kind of surface talk for a little while that all of a sudden the good question pops, or the good thought process pops, and then that leads, and you have to make space for that to happen. And so that's kind of where that heart work, where there's no extreme time boundaries on some of that stuff. There have to be boundaries in life, and there are times when there have to be time boundaries, but being able to create that space, I don't even know we knew what we were doing at the time, but we were very blessed that we were able to do that.
Well, I think the involvement there is almost like a sense of ownership. There wasn't like, hey, Tara, these are your kids, and I'll kind of help out when I can. It was like, these are our kids. I'm all in. I want to be involved in every part of their lives. I want to know how they're doing. How can I support you? Are we on the same page? So even though we had some of it's grunt work, but then some of it at this age is just pouring the truth of God into them and being there for them, because we established that presence in their lives, right? So that now we have a two-person team. So having you by my side as a radically involved father is the very best gift I can ask for Mother's Day. I mean, really is, because I know obviously there are many, many mothers who do not have that gift, right? Do not have the gift of a supportive husband to help. So if you're in a place where you have that, to be grateful for that involvement.
And if you're a husband looking for a better way to love your wife as a mom, these are some great things. And these are things that actually are not just good for Mother's Day. These things actually have long-term effects, and they pay off in radical ways. So real quickly, you spent the time to put together the acrostic. Let's go through them just real quick. So the M.
Modeling respect.
The O.
Offer resources.
T.
Talk about the kids.
H.
How can I help?
E.
Encourage her.
And R.
Radical involvement.
And although I know, Tara, I have struggled with Mother's Day throughout our entire marriage, it has never been a reflection on how good of a mom you are. And that actually has helped to bring a lot of healing.
It has.
Having 4 children that I love dearly, it's been awesome to have you be their mom. So I am so grateful for you. And I was even thinking about how you really are a Proverbs 31 woman. And we think about these things and how...
That's a high bar.
but that's what you strive to be. And we all fall short. I mean, you can't replace my need for a savior, my God.
Right.
But you do strive to be that for your family.
Well,
and it's amazing.
And I think we mentioned this in our last episode, that I am not your mom or your savior, but there's a level of hope in saying this is closer to how it's supposed to be between a mother and a child than what you grew up with. So there's still an element of redemption in what we're building in our family.
And Tara, I really appreciate the incredible job you've done at being a mother to our 4 children.
I appreciate all the support you've given me so I can do so, or at least try to do so.
Awesome. And if you're a mom, happy Mother's Day from us. We hope that you have a great Mother's Day, and we'd love to connect with you. You can do that on Instagram at
Behind Our Smiles Pod.
And then also on Facebook at Behind Our Smiles. You can also connect with us through email, Tara, T-A-R-A, at BehindOurSmiles.com.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you again next week.
Behind Our Smiles is a Wow God production, a ministry of the University of Northwestern St. Paul. Discover more at wowgod.com.